All right, so you've brought us quite the collection on, well, McDonald's and Ray Kroc, of course.
Yeah, it seems like someone's got a craving for more than just the burgers.
It's not every day we get historical accounts mixed in with, like, snippets of Kroc's own life story, even a podcast outline thrown in. This feels different. You want to understand the man behind the golden arches, not just the fast food itself.
Exactly, and I think digging into these sources might reveal some things, well, not everyone expects when they think McDonald's.
That's the beauty of these deep dives. So to kick us off, before we get to Big Macs and world domination, paint a picture for us. Who was Ray Kroc before those golden arches took over the world?
He wasn't born into wealth, that's for sure.
Yeah, I picked up on that too. Lemonade stand kind of guy, right?
Oh, absolutely, and like paper cup salesman, always hustling, which feeds into that whole self-made man narrative that always surrounds him, right?
Okay, so that classic American dream story. But everyone's got to start somewhere, I guess. Though, got to ask about this one detail. Lying about his age to be a WWI ambulance driver. Talk about ambitious.
Right, and, thinking about it, that same kind of daring, that willingness to maybe bend the rules a bit, it pops up later in his business dealings too, makes you wonder, was that drive, that ambition, always there? Just waiting for the right thing to latch onto.
It's like those early experiences, even if small time compared to McDonald's, they shaped how he saw the world, right? How he approached business later on. Speaking of which, we've got to bring in the other half of this equation. McDonald brothers. Can't tell this story without him.
What was so special about their restaurant, though?
Oh.
Before Kroc came along, I mean.
Oh, they weren't just a name on the door, not at all. One source I saw really emphasized their speedy service system. And remember, this is the 50s. Fast food as we know it, practically unheard of.
Oh, totally. Like, burgers existed, but not like that.
Right. The McDonald brothers, they were onto something totally new with that whole speed and efficiency thing.
And this is where it gets interesting, right? Because Kroc, he initially connected with them selling milkshake machines.
Yeah.
Of all things. He saw how many they were ordering and, I guess, ding, light bulb moment. Funny how opportunity works that way, huh? Sometimes the most unexpected thing.
Leads to a billion-dollar empire. But it also makes you think, was it just luck? Or did Kroc see something specific in the McDonald brothers operation? Something he knew he could build on, even back then?
That's the million-dollar question. But I gotta say, from what I've gathered, Kroc's vision, it wasn't just about flipping burgers. This guy, he wanted to build a brand.
Okay, so bigger than just a good meal, he wanted the whole package.
Exactly. And that's a key difference between him and the McDonald brothers, I think. Kroc, he understood that to make McDonald's a household name, everything had to be the same: food, service, even the way the darn restaurants looked. Total consistency.
Which, nowadays we totally take that for granted. Every McDonald's basically identical.
Right, but back then,
Yeah.
that level of standardization in fast food, revolutionary.
And, of course, we can't forget his franchising system. That's what allowed him to expand like wildfire. Though, gave him a lot of control over those franchisees, too. Something we'll definitely unpack later.
Definitely important to keep in mind. It's clear, though, that Kroc's vision and the McDonald brothers' vision, started to split at a certain point. So, while Kroc's ambition, no doubt, huge part of McDonald's success, gotta ask, was he truly building on the McDonald brothers thing or shaping something entirely new? And might that tie into, how far he was willing to go to get what he wanted?
Which brings us to, I guess, a turning point in this whole McDonald's story. That $2.7 million deal, 1961, Kroc buys out the McDonald brothers. But something tells me it wasn't exactly a handshake and a smile kind of deal, huh?
Yeah, no, not for whatever. Some sources suggest the brothers felt, kind of cheated, really, like they got outmaneuvered in the whole thing.
Which, they'd already built a successful business, right? They had that innovative system. So.
Exactly. So you got to wonder, was Kroc's real talent, maybe not the burgers themselves, but seeing that potential on a massive scale?
Okay, sure, but was it ethical? One source even mentioned this. Get this. Kroc allegedly built a McDonald's right next door to a property the McDonald brothers owned after some kind of disagreement. Like, if that's not some next-level business move, I don't know what is.
It definitely makes you think twice about his motives, that's for sure. Was it a power play? Showing them who was really in charge now.
A little taste of you can't sit with us, but like McDonald's edition.
Right. Hard to say for sure, but it definitely makes Kroc's story more complicated.
Okay, so let's put it this way. At this point in our deep dive, how are you feeling about Ray Kroc? Visionary, ruthless businessman, or a little bit of both?
Million-dollar question, right?
Yeah.
There's no denying his impact. He takes this local burger joint, turns it into a global empire, changes how we eat, how we do business.
But often, that kind of success, it comes with a side of controversy, doesn't it?
Exactly.
And Kroc's legacy? No exception. On one hand, you've got this revolution in fast food efficiency, standardization, all that. But then there's the criticism how he treated franchisees, those aggressive tactics he used.
Oh, absolutely. You see reports of strained relationships with franchise owners, folks feeling trapped by his rules, the fees, all of it. And then there's just that relentless pursuit of being number one, even if it meant, well, undercutting the competition.
It's true what they say, history is written by the winners. We celebrate Kroc's success, but at what cost, right?
Yeah.
And how much of the, well, less flattering stuff gets left out of the story. Speaking of which, that autobiography of his, does he address any of this? Or is it all like sunshine and happy meals?
Good question. I mean, autobiographies are always going to be a bit one-sided, right? But it'd be interesting to see how Kroc frames his own actions. What does he choose to highlight? What gets conveniently left out?
Like we said before, got to be those critical thinkers, right?
Yeah.
Especially when someone's giving us their version of the story.
Absolutely. Looking beyond the surface, considering those different perspectives, it's rarely black and white. And Kroc, well, there's a lot of gray area there.
Yeah.
So how do we reconcile that innovation, that sharp business sense, with the, let's say, more ethically questionable stuff? Can we, or even should we, separate the person from the empire they built? These are questions worth thinking about.
Big questions, for sure. And it makes me think back to something we touched on earlier. That time Kroc spent as a paper cup salesman seems almost insignificant compared to, founding McDonald's.
Right.
But what if that experience was way more crucial than we realize?
See, that's what I love about these deep dives, those unexpected connections. We get so focused on burgers and fries. Maybe Kroc's real genius, it was something else entirely.
Okay, you're going to have to spell this one out for me. Paper cups, global domination. How's that connect?
Real estate.
Wait, what?
Think about it. When Kroc buys out the McDonald brothers, he's not just buying the name, the system.
Yeah.
He starts acquiring the land those restaurants are on, too.
So not just their business partner, he's becoming their landlord. That's kind of savvy.
Exactly. Control. He could dictate terms, enforce those strict standards, shape the whole McDonald's experience. Brilliant. Even if some might say ruthless.
Like that saying, own the land, own everything on it. And to think it all goes back to paper cups. Who knew?
Really goes to show those seemingly random experiences, they can add up to something huge. Kroc's story, it reminds us that success, well, it's not always a straight line.
Definitely not a paint by numbers kind of journey.
Right. It's about connecting those dots, learning from everything, even the stuff that seems kind of small time at the moment, and always keeping an eye out for those opportunities. You never know where they'll lead.
Talk about a masterclass in business, huh? From paper cups to, well, pretty much conquering the fast food world. We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. Everything from those early days, Kroc's relentless drive, those innovations he brought to fast food, and of course we can't ignore those ethical questions that still swirl around his legacy. Definitely gives you a lot to digest, no pun intended.
It does make you think, that's for sure. I mean, we've seen how he changed the way we eat, built this globally recognized brand, set a new standard for efficiency in an entire industry.
And yet, there's that flip side. Those tough deals, relationships that got strained along the way. That question of whether the ends always justified the means.
It's complicated, no doubt about it. But then again, that's what makes these deep dives so fascinating,
I
right?
totally agree. It's about digging deeper, challenging our assumptions, realizing there are multiple sides to every story.
And sometimes those gray areas are way more interesting than the black and white.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So next time you see those golden arches, think beyond the burger and fries. Think about ambition, about risk, about the ripple effect one person's vision can have on the world. And that, my friend, is worth chewing on.